Hi, Tristan Rivers here, and I'm here to answer how easy is it to change tuning with the Floyd FRX. One question I've seen a whole bunch is, can you easily, like say, drop tune this thing, go down a half step with the FRX compared to whatever other bridge they're talking about. Now, compared to most floating bridges, it's actually designed in a way where you could easily change tunings with everything just kind of in here without any extra gadgets. And it's also why a D-tuner might work with this thing. Now, I'm not going to bother using a D-tuner because I just want to show you that I can change the pitch of the strings pretty easily and affect the way I have the bridge set up. Obviously, if you use a D-tuner, it's just a matter of just, clicking it out and it'll change the tuning for you instantly. Going down is easy. Returning back up to pitch always has some level of flaws because you're adding tension back on the strings. But if we're loosening tension, we have the advantage of having this thumb screw right here that I can use to kind of block out the bridge, because that's the first thing you're going to want to do if you're going to change the tuning. So I've got it, so it's right up against the bridge, and I don't want it really changing the pitch of anything while I'm doing that. Yeah, so it sounds like it's pretty much the same. So I've already unlocked this. Obviously, it just takes a few seconds, but we won't worry about trying to calculate that into everything. So because this is kind of blocked out, all I need to do is now just change my tuning. So I can just switch on my tuner. I'm just using Helix on the ground there. And I will quickly tune this from standard down a half step. And hopefully I won't bore you too much with this. Even if I don't have it, I guess, perfectly in tune, you'll see how we can kind of change tunings without having to worry too much about things going all out of whack. Now, something to keep in mind is, if you're going to do this, the only way that I would ever, I think, recommend doing this on stage, even if you think it's a good idea, is leaving it kind of as a down-only trem, by leaving that screw blocked out in place, because I don't know how trustworthy it would be to do anything more than that. But the thing is, I have done this before in guitar lessons. If a student wanted to learn something down a half step or in drop D tuning and I had this guitar with me, I was able to pretty much just tune it down there. Just kind of rush through. It's a touch out of tune, but nothing's going weird here. I don't know if you won't be able to see it, but it's still even because I have that screw in place. And this will probably throw it out of tune because I don't have this locked, but I could. Yeah, it throws it out of tune. If you locked it up, it would probably be fine, but it ended up going a touch sharp. But I was able to still push down, and it would kind of end where we'd expect it to go. Let's try that one more time. Yeah, it's kind of binding there. I think that's... I probably should have pulled those pads off of the lock nut. Let's try it again. Tune. It's staying not too bad. It's still kind of wanting to pull a little sharp, but I mean, I'm just doing this in real time. I'm just kind of changing the tune like that. So, could you get away with it? Yeah, if you were in practice and you weren't just kind of winging it like I am, would you be able to change your tuning? Yeah, I think so. Again, I've taught entire guitar lessons, just kind of switching between them. Now, of course, as soon as I get rid of this thumb screw, we're going to have some trouble. So I just did that, and it just fell back. Now I'm all out of tune. But what you can do, because it's just a single adjustment here, I can take my Allen key and just kind of almost retune it. Let's see how well this works. So, of course, my E flat is a little bit sharp now. Let's see, I'm not sure which string would be the wisest to kind of tune it to. Let's go with the G, because that one's going to be really loose. So that one is really, really sharp. So let's just release some of that spring tension to even out. So I've just brought the G string in tune with this. Let's see. How in tune did it get? Let's find out. Okay. I'm floating now, by the way. So the beauty of the FRX is because you're not dealing with a whole bunch of screws clumsily in the back, all I had to do was adjust the one spring screw and bring that one string back into tune, and then put the rest of it essentially back into tune as well, because it just evened out the bridge back to that 0 point that I created with the thumb screw that just sort of blocks it out. So again, I'm just kind of winging it. If you had to seriously do this, you might be able to have a much easier time trying to, get things from standard down a half step. Now, going back, like I said, that's a little bit tricky because I have no idea how out of tune my G flat was before I brought it into tune to even everything out. So it would be a bit of a guessing game, but let's find out. Let's just go for it. Let's see what happens. So I want to get this back in tune. I'm going to just guess a little bit. I remember that I was almost, like my tuner was fluctuating between a really sharp G flat and a really flat G. So if I kind of go for that, kind of put it where it's kind of leaning in that direction. Okay. So we got that. Let's put the screw back where it sort of was. It was, I have to eyeball this a bit because it definitely sank back a bit when I released the screw. There's got to be a better method to do this. I'm just, again, kind of winging it just because people asked about this. So, okay, let's get this back into tune. So, I think I might be a touch pushed up with the bridge just because this seems out in a slightly wrong way, but we'll see what happens. All in the name of science, right? Guess we'll also see how much of this discussion I'm having with you guys ends up on the cutting room floor as I just edit everything out. But again, this is just one straight take because I couldn't be bothered to have a script and figure out what I'm going to say and shoot things in any particular logical progression. So we're just going for it. I have a feeling that this conversation will probably end up on the cutting room floor. Okay, so I just about have everything in tune here. I'll just kind of tighten up each string one more time a little bit. It's a little out there, so I have a feeling that I'm not going to be quite so lucky. Let's see. I'm still kind of fighting it a bit, but we are pretty much in standard tuning there. Now let's see what happens when I remove the screw. I think I had a pretty good guess there. Okay, so we're in more or less standard tuning. I'm just going to double check one more time. I should have set up one more camera so you could see what my tuner was saying on the helix. So E's a little flat, A's perfectly in tune, D's a little flat, G's a little flat, B's a little flat, E's a little flat. So I was off by a little bit. All in all, I mean, I could probably tune it, but it's going to be finicky if I try to adjust it. Actually, if everything's a little flat, let's do that trick again. I'm going to turn the tuner back on, and I'm going to just make sure, so was my G was, everything was a touch flat. So if I just add a little bit of tension, I wonder if I can get myself pretty much into tune there. So let's go with, let's bring that E into tune. Just by tightening this spring a bit. Okay, so the E's right on there. If I loosen these a touch. Yeah, this is going to be a little extreme. This might have been a bad idea. But you can see the problem with trying to go back up, right? That's why I'm saying you don't You probably don't want to switch to a floating E flat unless you really, really mean it. You really need it for some reason. Okay. There we go. Yeah, there. I'm just about in tune now. So, again, this is not something you could gig with. You can't do that. If I left it blocked out and tuned down a half step, played my song blocked out, then tuned it back up, I think you could get away with that. Like I said, in a guitar lesson, if you're teaching somebody or if you're taking a lesson and all of a sudden you're going to be playing something down a half step, block that out, tune it down, you're going to be fine. Again, coming back up, there's guesswork. Going down, though, luckily, you can be just very, very methodical about it, right? Because the only thing that's going to happen is the bridge is going to go down. So if you have that screw in place, it's going to stay in place. Then even if you remove it and it comes back, you just adjust back here and just tighten it by just watching your tuner and getting one of your strings in tune. Again, the G string to me made sense, so I use that to get back level and back in tune. So I leveled it out by basically tuning the guitar from here with the Allen key, and that brought me back. So I don't know if this answers your questions, but it's a lot easier to tune this thing and to balance it out and everything compared to just about any other Floyd Rose style bridge. Is it something that you can, realistically do on stage? Probably not. You could maybe get away with tuning down a half step, but you know what this does to you though? Is this absolutely lets you use detuners. So whether it's the EVH detuner or what was the other one? Somebody mentioned one in the comments a few days ago. Was it something like tone vice pitch shift or something like that? I can't remember. It's another one. It's much smaller. I think I might pick one up because if I can get them. I think they're a little hard to find these days, but it's smaller than the detuner. So the one problem that the detuner did have is it was too big and it would hit this metal piece. But I do think this other one is small enough that it'll fit in the crevice right here. So you'll be able to, if you wanted to, have that installed and leave it installed. If you're going to use it, you just block out the trem. If you're not going to use the pitch shifter, then you can still be full floating without having to remove the device, which doesn't take much, but it takes enough that, again, you're sitting down for 15 minutes fiddling with something, which is something you can't realistically do in, say, like a gig or anything like that. So the verdict, I guess this is the easiest floating bridge I've ever had for tuning. I think something that might rival it is there was a bridge on some Parker guitars. I've never owned one, but a friend had one, and it seemed like it was pretty easy to tune because you had the ability to switch it on and off from floating. But this one, definitely the easiest, but again, I probably wouldn't gig with it. So there you go. There's tuning with the FRX. If you enjoy these videos, definitely like. If you want to see more, subscribe. I just keep making them because people just keep asking questions. So if the questions keep coming, I'll keep making videos. So feel free to comment as well. And hopefully we'll meet up again for a fourth time this year, maybe even. That'd be crazy, huh? All right. See you guys later.